Let's discuss all the Nintendo portables that came out over the years, and there's so many that I can't even hold them all, but I'll try to go in order. Starting off with the original Game Boy and Tetris, the packing game for that system. This blew my mind the first time I played it. Of course, this is a backlit modded Game Boy here, but the first time I saw this, and I was like, wow, a portable NES. You know, this is so cool. I can play Nintendo games on the go. I was really excited. And let's talk a little bit about this game, Tetris, that came with the Game Boy. This game sold the system. I remember my uncle at the time, he wasn't really into video games. He saw me playing this one day, and he ran out that day to go buy a Game Boy with Tetris. Now, it was pretty hard to see the screen on these things, so we had all kinds of tricks where we'd reflect it just the right way in the light, or there was like these attachments that we could put on that had light that would shine from above. I just remembered I actually had one, so it would slide on top of the screen like this and snap into place. And this one actually has a magnifying glass too. Then there's a little switch here for a light so that it was easier to see the games. And these are some of my favorite games. This is Kirby's Pinball Land, where you basically just play pinball with Kirby, where Kirby's the actual pinball and you just kind of knock, is it a him or her? I don't know. You knock Kirby around. And speaking of Kirby, this is Kirby's Dreamland. It's a side-scrolling game kind of similar to Mario. And I believe this is actually the first Kirby game ever. It came out even before like the NES version. Just a fun little side-scrolling game. And this is tennis. It's super simple gameplay. It's basically just tennis. It was one of the first Game Boy games that came out, I remember. I think this is like the second game I got besides Tetris. But yeah, it's a really fun little sports title. And last we have Super Mario Land. It was a little bit different than the NES versions of Super Mario Brothers. But it was still a fun game, and it wasn't until Super Mario Land 2 that it really seemed like it was like an actual port from a console game to a portable game. This one always seemed a little bit different, but it was still a really fun title. And then a few years later, after the original Game Boy came out, Nintendo did this Play It Loud series where they released like 5 or 6 different colors of Game Boys. There was like a green, a yellow, a black, a blue maybe, and a red. I can't remember all of them. But it came out like, I want to say it was like 93 or 94. And I remember getting one just because it was cool to have a Game Boy in a different color. But other than that, it was pretty much identical to the OG. And then we got the Game Boy Pocket. And this thing was a pretty big upgrade just because the form factor was so much smaller. If you look at them compared to the original Game Boy, it's like almost half the size, you know? And it's also not as tall and it's not as wide. Other than that, it's like the exact same guts as the original Game Boy and the Play It Loud series, but it's just like it has a little bit of a nicer screen. I know it's hard to kind of see the screen because of the reflection and everything, but it was a pretty cool upgrade. I remember I got this, I got it in the ice blue version. It was like a special edition Toys R Us one, which I wish I still had. And I want to say this came out in like 95 or 96. And then we got the Game Boy Color, which was very similar to the other Game Boys, except for it was a color screen now. You still have the issue with the screens not being able to see it very well. This is an awesome game, by the way, Super Mario Brothers Deluxe. Because I remember the first time I played this game, I was so excited that I was able to play Super Mario Brothers on a portable, because this was the first time I was able to do that. Then we got the Game Boy Advance around the year 2000, which was a huge power upgrade over the previous Game Boys. And the Game Boy Advance games are like half the size of the original Game Boy games. I remember it really blew my mind the first time I saw this. And I was like, well, how could it be so advanced, yet it takes like half the amount of space of the original Game Boy games? And then Nintendo did something that changed the game. They released the Game Boy Advance SP, which was so much better than the Game Boy Advance in so many ways. First of all, this thing has a backlit screen. That's the first thing, and that's like the biggest thing. You can no longer have to worry about playing this, you know, in lit rooms, whatever. You can play this wherever you want. You can play it at dark at night in bed. You can play it outside. You can play it inside. It doesn't matter. This thing's backlit. It was awesome. It was a huge advancement. And the next thing this thing had is a rechargeable battery. Now, up until then, with the Game Boys, you'd have to have AA, AAA batteries hanging around in your house. You'd use them. They'd go bad. You have to throw them away. It was bad for the environment. With this, you just plug it into the wall, recharge it, and that was incredible back then to have that, to first see that and not have to worry about running out and buying those batteries all the time. I forgot to mention there's even a way to turn the light on and off if you need to. If you want to just go old school, you can play like that. It'll save a little battery that way too if you do like that. The third and final upgrade that this had over the original GBA is the clamshell design. Now I personally like this better because I think it's easier to hold in your hands, and I like how you don't have to worry about scratching the screen or scratching the face of the buttons or anything like that when it's closed. I mean, you do scratch this, but who cares? I'd rather keep my screen nice and fresh looking. The Game Boy Advance and SP was about as powerful as a Super Nintendo. That's why we got a lot of these ports that, I mean, this isn't really a port, but a lot of these games, they remind me of Super Nintendo games, like Mario Kart Super Circuit. We got Mario Advance games, which are pretty much like Super Mario All-Stars on the Super Nintendo, and these are really fun games. And just when you thought things couldn't get any better, Nintendo gave us a Game Boy Advance SP with a brighter screen. And the way you could tell if it has the brighter screen is if you look at the bottom here, you see where it says AGS 101? It's blurry. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, trust me, it has to say AGS 101. And that's how you know it's the brighter screen. And that way you can, look how bright that gets. Wow. So yeah, there's 2 modes of brightness. And this is the way to go. If you're going to get one Game Boy system, I recommend getting the Game Boy Advance SP AGS 101. That's the way to go. Or just get the regular Game Boy Advance SP. They're both awesome. Then around the year 2006, we got the Nintendo DS, which was like a completely different thing. It wasn't a Game Boy at all anymore. This is the DS line of Nintendo portables. So you got the DS stands for either developer system or dual screen. So you see you got the 2 screens right here. You got this nice little, man, that's hard to see, that menu when you first boot it up where you could load the game. We had Picto Chat. You guys remember Picto Chat where you could like chat with other people nearby? And you can also play Game Boy Advance games in these babies too. This little bottom part came out and it was backwards compatible with all those other great GBA games. So that was a nice little perk. And we got tons of great games for the DS too, like Mario Kart DS, which was a great Mario Kart game. We got New Super Mario Bros. 2. At the time, the first time I saw this, I got really excited because it was the first side-scrolling Mario game I had played in like 10 years at that point. We got cool remakes of Nintendo 64 games like Diddy Kong Racing DS. We got, of course, Pokemon games. We got Super Mario DS, which is like Super Mario 64, the portable version. We got Yoshi Touch and Go, which I think was first just like a demo for the DS, but ended up being a really awesome game, and it's one of my favorite DS games. And then we got Zelda games too. There's a great library of DS games. Oh, I'm going a little out of order here, my bad. The first DS actually looked like this. It was like not as good of a design. I mean, you could see that this is actually the DS Lite, and it was a huge upgrade over this. I've never been a fan of this design, but I just have one in my collection because it's cool to have. And then we got the DSi, which really was just like a DS. I didn't really understand what the big difference was. The menu looks a little bit different. It has like a camera on the front here, which no one really ever used. I mean, there's a picture on here, but you just kind of used it once to test it, like, oh yeah, it has a camera, and then you never used it again. I don't think that it was really any more powerful than the regular DS. It was pretty much identical to the DS Lite, just called the DSi. I think you could download games off of the store with this too, but not that big of a difference. And then we got the 3DS, and this was a pretty big power upgrade over the DSi. I don't actually have the 3DS. This is a 3DS XL. But it's just a little bit of a bigger screen. Other than that, it's pretty much identical. And you can see the menu is a lot different now. You got all the games over here, and you can still insert games into the slot. I will say that there's a lot of cool special editions that came out for the 3DS. There's like Zelda ones, Pokemon ones. There's even like a NES and Super Nintendo themed one. And I like that Nintendo did that. I wish they did more of that stuff. We got tons of great titles in the 3DS as well. You got your Pokemon games. You got your side-scrolling Yoshi games. This is a really fun game. Super Mario 3D Land. There's also Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U, which was fun. This is like the 3DS version. We got Animal Crossing. You gotta love Animal Crossing. We got like remakes of older games, like the Sega games, the classic ones for Genesis and stuff like that on cartridges. Here's all the games that come with it. We got Super Mario Maker 3DS, which is awesome. I love making my own Mario games or Mario levels and playing other ones that other people make. We got New Super Mario Bros. 2, another fun side-scrolling game. This is a unique game, Kid Icarus Uprising, because you actually have to hold your 3DS kind of like this to play it. And it's a really fun game, so definitely check this out, this Kid Icarus game. And Nintendo just kept coming out with more and more of these things. This is, I believe, the 2DS XL. This is actually the best one you should get. If you just don't care about the 3D at all, just get the 2DS XL because it has the big screen. It doesn't, you don't have to worry about the 3D. And it's a little bit thinner than the 3DS because it doesn't have that built-in technology. This is the best one to get. We got the 2DS, which is kind of like a funny looking little portable because it's all just like flat. And it's kind of weird to see that when you're used to seeing the hinge. But the screen actually looks really good on this because it's a little bit smaller and it's bright. And because it's smaller, the pixels are like more condensed and whatnot. So everything looks really sharp. I don't play it very often, but it's just a cool piece to have in my collection. I think I covered most of them. I know I missed the Game Boy Micro, which I don't actually have, which is why I didn't talk about it. Honestly, the Game Boy Micro, the screen is so small and your hands are so cramped when you play that thing that it's hard to play it for more than like 5 or 10 minutes without either getting a headache or getting really bad hand cramps. So I don't really recommend the Micro. It's just a cool novelty piece to have for your collection. And to finish the video off, I will say if you only get one Nintendo Portable, I would go with the Game Boy Advance SP. For the reasons I mentioned earlier, this thing is just awesome. It plays all the Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games. It's backlit, it's rechargeable. I love the hinge. It's like the perfect Nintendo Portable. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a great day.